What you do every day matters more than what you do once in a while. Gretchen Rubin. You have the power to be the boss of your own life. I'm your host, Monica Allen. I'm a wife, mom, entrepreneur, best-selling author, lifelong learner, and your biz bestie. I have a love and passion for all things small business. Growing my own company from $700 to over 7 figures annually, my goal is to bring you inspiration, business-focused topics and tips, encouragement, and a community that helps you launch, grow, and scale your business, whether you are a dreamer, a side hustler, or a seasoned entrepreneur. You are listening to the Become Your Own Boss podcast. The quote by Gretchen, "What you do every day matters more than what you do once in a while," sets the tone for what I want to talk about today. Because building the future version of you is not about one big moment or one bold decision. It's about what you do consistently, quietly, repeated, and on purpose. Last week, I asked you a question that I hope stayed with you. Are you building the future self you want? And I invited you to do a simple exercise. 2 columns, who you want to be on one side and what you're actually doing to get there on the other. If you did that exercise, chances are you noticed a gap or two, and that's not a bad thing, as I said last week. That's awareness, and we talked about awareness being the first step to getting there. Today, I want to talk about what to do with what you noticed. But before we go any further, there's one important thing we need to establish. I want to establish vision as the anchor. You see, vision is the picture of who you want to become. It's not something you revisit every single day. It's something you set and then use as a lens for your decisions. As an example, I can remember a few years ago, our business had moved out of our basement, we hit 7 figures, and we had a pretty robust team. Things were moving along, and those were things that I had envisioned. For example, when we were in the basement, I visualized us having a place. We had a store. We had a team. I had those visions in my head. But once we had accomplished those things, truthfully, my vision became less clear. I wasn't sure how I wanted to move forward from there. I was just kind of in the day-to-day grind, and my vision was blurry. But what I found is that once your vision is clear, the rest becomes a lot simpler. So vision is where we start. That's our anchor. That's our foundation. And then there's the awareness. You see, once you have the vision of who you want to be, and you have those 2 columns and you can see the gaps, you're now aware. You're made aware of what you need to fill in or fix. I don't know if I like the word fix. I put that in air quotes. But awareness sounds like this is where I'm showing up consistently. This is where I'm avoiding. This is what is draining my energy. This is what is giving me life. And this is your truth, not necessarily anyone else's, but yours. You see, truthfully, we cannot change what we refuse to see. We have to gain awareness. And here's what matters. Awareness is not about judgment. It's about clarity, being able to see those gaps. You see, for example, I'm aware that the day-to-day is draining for me in my business. The big picture strategy, the marketing strategy, that is exciting. It gives me life. It gives me energy. When I work on those things, I feel good at the end of my day. That 2-column exercise you did was an example of awareness in action. It shows you where you're right now in relation to the vision you have for your life in the future, whether it's 12 months from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. Now, I'm speaking about this more so from a business standpoint because, of course, as I stated before, this podcast is called Become Your Own Boss. And we cannot really determine next moves in our business if we're in denial as to where we are right now and where we want to be. But truthfully, this is true for every aspect of our lives. We have to become aware on whatever level we're talking about, whether it's our relationships, our friendships, our fitness, our home life, whatever we want to make changes in, we have to first be aware of what needs to change to get us to where we want to be. The next thing is alignment. You see, once awareness is there, the next question is my life aligned with the future version of me? And alignment is where we may have to change a behavior. If we want more peace, does our schedule support that? If we want growth in our business, does our calendar reflect that? If we want better health, does our daily habits point in that direction? And we talked about this last week too, where you're shopping in the grocery store or what your fitness or movement routine looks like. But misalignment doesn't mean that we're failing. It just means that we're receiving feedback, and now we can determine the next steps to get into alignment. And to me, alignment is about making small adjustments. It's not about blowing it all up. I mean, I'm not going to blow up my entire business, but I'm going to make tiny shifts to be more consistent, to get me to be the version of the CEO that I want to be. I'm going to have to make small shifts to get there. I don't know, maybe some of them could be big, but right now I have some ideas of tweaks that I need to make. And then after we have alignment, we work on intention. And intentionality, or intentional, is one of my favorite words. This is where real change begins, because intention is deciding ahead of time how we're going to show up and letting that guide our choices every day. Intention asks us questions like, what am I choosing on purpose this week? What am I saying no to because it no longer serves my future self? Where do I need focus instead of more effort? Mel Robbins said, you are always one decision away from a completely different life. Now, I don't think she means a completely different life overnight, but you can definitely set yourself on a different trajectory. That's what intention gives you. It pulls you out of autopilot and puts you back in the driver's seat. And I think for most of us, if you're listening to this podcast, you do want to be in control as much as you can. Of course, life happens, but you want to be in control as much as you can. And being intentional doesn't mean being perfect. It really resides around another word that I like, consistency. I'm not always the most consistent person, but I know that if I want to move the needle in certain ways, I have to be consistent. I'm going to leave us all with an exercise, kind of a weekly 10-minute check-in that we can look at awareness, alignment, and intention. And this is what I want you to do. You can write this down. I was thinking maybe I'll create like a little handout that if you DM me or email me, I can send it to you. But it's a 10-minute weekly check-in built around these things. And here's how it works. We're going to ask ourselves some questions. Under awareness, what worked this week? What didn't? What felt heavy? What felt energizing? Under alignment, where was I aligned with my vision? Where was I out of alignment or misaligned? And then with intention, what is one intentional choice I will make next week to be more of who I want to be? Just one. I like to talk about the planner that I use, the Become Your Own Boss planner, because one of the things that I put in that planner is my one thing, which is a daily question. And it's more of what's the one thing I want to get done today that I feel like is going to leave me feeling in alignment. It's going to leave me feeling like I got something big done. And this week, for instance, my boxes, every single box has been filled with make more offers. This is the title of a book by Myron Golden, who I admire. I read it some years ago. He is a Christian-based businessman who encourages us to just make more offers. And truthfully, that's how momentum is built, not by fixing everything, but by moving forward on purpose. And we've been purposely in our office cleaning house since I made a new hire a couple of months ago. He's been tasked with building web pages to move overstocked Greek items out the door. Also, we have a lot of blank items where people dropped them off a long time ago, years ago, and they just never moved forward on their order. They never came back. We tried to contact them, and they have just left their things behind. Those blank items are on a website and on eBay to move out the door. This is an intentional move towards making more offers and cleaning up our office space. I've also been intentional around sharing more on social media, sharing custom designs that we've completed. And that helps us stay in front of prospects. It helps us stay in front of customers, help people think about us if they need embroidery services or decorated apparel or promotional products. Again, making more offers, not necessarily blatantly sending out a sales email, but making suggestions to people, being in front of people. That's intention, because as I mentioned last week, my goal is to increase revenue. I'll leave you with this. The future version of you is not built by chance. It is on purpose. Vision gives us direction. Awareness helps us see how we need to move to fill in those gaps that we found in our 2 columns. Alignment helps us adjust where we need to. And then intention helps us move forward on purpose. And the cycle just continues. And I believe if we repeat this cycle week after week, we stop hoping for change and start building it. Thank you for listening today. I'm grateful for you. I want to take a moment to thank a couple of listeners who have left written reviews for the podcast. Jaquette C., thank you for saying, I just found this podcast last night. I was searching for entrepreneur podcasts and came across this one. When I say value bombs have been dropped on every podcast I've listened to so far, I had to come and write a review. The icing on the cake is that I haven't heard any paid ads. Thank you for that. And that's another reason I wanted to write a review, because I was able to listen without being interrupted every few minutes. I'm loving it. Jaquette, thank you so much. I don't think I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I apologize. Jaquette. Thank you so much for that review. Thank you for taking time out of your day and being intentional in writing that review for the podcast. It is greatly appreciated. And then Shane Cub wrote, thank you. I just decided to start a small business. I searched for podcasts to help me get started and get focused, and I found you! Exclamation point. You have inspired me! Exclamation point. Thank you for making this podcast. Thank you, Shane Cub, for listening to the podcast. Thank you both for taking the time to write a review. If you don't mind, take a moment to go over and leave a review as well. And if you have a moment to write a quick note, I really would appreciate that. Shane Cub, I also want to say to you, congrats on starting your business. If there's anything I can ever help you with, feel free to email me. Monica@monicaallen.com is my email address. Remember, we are about to enter a new year, less than a week from now. It's crazy. Who would you like to be at the end of 2026? You can decide today, anchored in a vision. You can become aware, get in alignment, and be intentional with the changes needed. And remember, now is the time. Now is the time to level up, leave a legacy, and become your own boss.